Alright, welcome to a video. My name is Eckogen. So in this video I'll show you guys my KFM build. This build is reflective of the changes they made to KFM with the Desolate Tomb update, patch 2.5. Now this build is PvE, please keep that in mind. It is primarily wind based, focusing on damage, so there's no threat in this build. It centers around Searing Palm, Comet Strike, and health recovery. So we'll start from the left side and work our way to the right. So your first skill, Second Wind. You could just put 1 point here. Stage 1 or 3, it doesn't matter, it's kind of situational. I like putting in stage 3 because when I'm soloing bosses, I find it pretty handy. Like example, like Noxoon or Mushin, like the days really helps. For Fighting Spirit, it's pretty self-explanatory. Do stage 3 if you're in a party, stage 4 if you're solo. Flying Slam, I usually do stage 3. Typically I'll use this as an opener for my fights, and just because of the damage is really nice. And that's pretty much it. I mean, it's a fun skill, but it's not really a skill I use often in my rotation. Just for the beginning of the fight I'll use it. Q and E, there's no question about it, you have to have 3 points in here. This is mandatory, absolutely mandatory. Smite. Now with the patch they increased the damage for stage 4. But the main reason is that it readies Pivot Kick and Searing Palm. And also gives you focus recovery too, which is nice. Searing Blow. I went with stage 3 for this, just because Cyclone Kick, either of those stages, they do not reduce the cooldown as Searing Palm. Iron Shoulder. I went stage 2 for this. It reduces the cooldown of Searing Palm, and you get the focus back if you crit with it. Your SS, Backstep. I just put one skill in here. So before the patch 2.5, if you put a point in this skill, it would actually increase the cooldown. I believe it went from 8 to 12 seconds. So now they've done it so that if you do put a point in here, the cooldown still remains the same. But you also get an increase in movement speed by 50% for 4 seconds. And if you time it correctly and you resist while doing your SS, it also decreases the cooldown of Searing Palm by 2 seconds. So next is the counter. I just went down stage 1. The main difference from this stage from other stages is that it absorbs 50% of the damage you block as HP. You resist stun and daze for 2 seconds. It decreases the cooldown of Searing Palm. And the Hong Moon skill, this is a really nice Hong Moon skill, so definitely get this if you have the Hong Moon. Like, definitely spend your points into it, because the Hong Moon skill lets you resist damage and status effects for 1 second. So it's initially like an iframe. Rising Dragon. You can either do stage 1 or stage 2. Stage 2 just stuns. Stage 1 does knockback. With stage 1, it's an extra iframe in a way. You just have to time it correctly to resist damage and status effects. And since it does do knockbacks, just be careful when you use it. For example, if you're fighting Yeti and you're at that point you need to CC him, and then you use this knockback, this Rising Dragon by accident, then they'll affect your CC, right? They won't be able to CC him properly. So just keep that in mind. Tiger Strike. I went with stage 4. Even though Swift Strike does ready Searing Palm, I find that I do have enough skills that will proc Searing Palm. And plus Tiger Strike does give you health recovery. So 10% of the damage you do with this skill goes to your health. And the Hong Moon skill is nice. So all it does is just inflicts additional damage on stun, dazed, controlled, Searing Palm, or Phantom Grip enemies. So I would say it's worthwhile spending your Hong Moon points in. So, Roaring Dragon. This is a new skill. So put 1 point into this, and by doing that it replaces Leading Palm. It has higher base damage and deals additional damage when the enemy is affected with Searing Palm. And it also has a lower cooldown, and it reduces the cooldown of Searing Palm as well. So it's definitely worth having this skill. It's a new skill with the patch 2.5. Your 2-1 punch, this is also a new skill with patch 2.5. It procs in place of your 2 when the enemy is restrained. So only Blade Dancers and Destroyer Grabs will count as a restraint. And cast and cooldown are instant, so this skill does insane damage. Your Flurry, stage 1 or 2 will work. Stage 1 deals more damage. The resist damage and status effects is only active for 1 second, so timing is important for stage 1. It has a higher cooldown reduction for Searing Palm, so 9 seconds versus 5 seconds in stage 2. With stage 2, it does absorb 25% of the damage dealt, done like given back to your health. But the resist and the resist damage and status effects last throughout the entire skill. But keep in mind that the resist, you can only do a maximum of 1 per skill. So stage 2 is essentially safer because the resist can last throughout the skill, the entire skill, because it hits 3 times. Whereas stage 1 is only for the first second when you use this skill. So stage 2 is a little safer to play with. I didn't put anything in leg sweep. Tremor for stage 2. For the duration of 10 seconds, you deal 20% additional damage with your stage 4 Tiger Strike, right here. Also, it pulls, and it recovers 2 focus per enemy hit, so that's really nice. Like, stage 1 is for PvP, stage 3 is for threat. Stage 4 is also nice, but watch out as it will knock enemies up into the air if they're, like, knocked down, stunned, or dazed. So that's not good if you're trying to avoid doing aerials, because you will lose DPS on that. It does increase attack power by 100% for 10 seconds when 3 or more enemies are hit. So I guess it's good if you're fighting lots of mobs, but not really that useful when you're fighting bosses, because typically they're just alone. So that's why I go with stage 2. Pivot Kick. So that's another new skill with patch 2.5. So if you put a point into this, it will change into Hellfire Kick. So just leave it alone, and it'll stay as Pivot Kick then. So Pivot Kick reduces the cooldown of Searing Palm. So I would say overall it's better to have than Hellfire Kick. Comet Strike. Definitely stage 3 for this. They changed stage 3 to where it used to require a critical hit to cast the next one instantly, but now it's just based on hit. You also gain back focus that you used upon critical hit. So if you pair this with Fighting Spirit stage 4, then it allows you to spam Comet Strike. So for 10 seconds, for the duration of the Fighting Spirit buff, you could at least get 6 to 8 Comet Strikes in, as you can see here, where it says it resets the cooldown of Comet Strike stage 1 and 3 every 2 seconds. So if you pair that with this, where the next cast is instantly on hit, and you get focus back on a critical hit, you can spam it a lot. Straight Jab, I just went with stage 1. You gain extra recovery on a critical hit, and it builds a critical bonus stacks. Avenging Fist, so I went with stage 4 for this. So stage 4 they also changed a bit. They removed the requirement of a critical hit to ready Searing Palm. So this makes it easier to ready your Searing Palm, because before it required critical hit. And plus it gives you, or not give you, but it gives Searing Palm a cooldown. Triple Kick, I went with stage 4. Lots of focus recovery. You get 5 for just using it, plus another 4 if you get a critical hit. Plus the cooldown is relatively low compared to other skills. Like stage 1 is PvP. Stage 2 is fire damage, flame damage. And stage 3 is PvP as well, but does more damage and longer cooldown. So that's why I went with stage 4. And then nothing in Guiding Fists, because this is not a threat build. So anyway, yeah, that is my PvE build for KFM, no threat. So it's, like I said, it centers around Searing Palm and Comet Strike and a little bit of focus recovery. So I find that usually if I'm taking a lot of damage in a boss fight, I can bring it back up quite easily just by using my Rising Dragon and spamming my Tiger Strike. So thank you for watching my video. I hope that helped.